What I love over the last many hours, we've been here since early this morning, is that every speaker brought a perspective of their story. Here's the cool thing, as you guys sit in your chairs today, as you walk this life, your story can help someone else develop their story. And what I mean is, as you share your story, because some people are afraid to share their story because of shame or guilt. You don't want people to know your story. You don't want people to know what's in your closets. Have you ever had, you're at home and someone knocks on the door unexpectedly and they want to come inside your house, but it's a mess? Yeah. And you're like, kids, shove everything in the closets. And then put the kids in the closets, And then they begin to come in and you're like, my house is clean, and in all reality, things are in the closet. And we continue to put these things in the closet constantly. And we don't deal with them. One of the most tragedies in life, as we walk through this life, is we live with unresolved issues. And it starts when you're a child. Some traumatic thing happens to you, something that hurts you, or someone says something to you, and a seed that's planted in your life begins to grow, and it's like a cancer because you do not deal with the unresolved issue. I do a lot of marital counseling. I talking to a lot of families. This last year at Christmas Eve, my beautiful bride and I celebrated 31 years of marriage. Yeah, and that's a journey in itself, so I won't go into that. But the reality is that I see many people's relationships destroyed because of unresolved issues and because of something else we're going to get very vulnerable about here in just a moment. So what do we do with all this information that we heard today? Man, when we were talking about the yoga and the mat, like that mat did something for me to propel me to now use my pain to bring healing, help, and hope to others. So this part of the day, I want to end with this, and I want to share a story. It was about 1978, I believe it was. Now, I was a baby of 6, and my wife would call me the golden child. And my mother, who's 81, man, I am a mama's boy. Anybody's a mama's child? I'm a mama's boy, and I'm proud of it. But the baby is 6. We grew up in California. It was a time in my life when everything I learned was from my older siblings. Let me tell you, that's not always good. I was about 6 years old. I guess it would have been about 1974. I was 6 years old. And I'll never forget coming home one day, and all of a sudden, I realized my father did not come home. And I asked my mom, hey, when is Dad coming home from work? He's not. My mom's been married 4 times, and he's not coming home. And I'm like, what do you mean he's not coming home? He's not coming home. And as a young child, and maybe some of you have been there too, from broken families, the new American family is the broken family. We all come from some sort of dysfunction. How many have dysfunction in their family? We all have dysfunction. No matter how perfect a family looks on Facebook, I promise you, we all have dysfunction. And I remember as a child, there was a seed planted of abandonment and rejection. And when a seed is planted of abandonment and rejection, there's a word that we're going to talk about just for the next few moments. It's called unforgiveness. The title of this last session is Let It Go. Let it go, let it go. Frozen, right? You just want to sing that song. So that began to be planted in that unforgiveness, and I would see my dad every other weekend for a while. He would take us Christmas time and summer times. But then, all of a sudden, I turned 12 or 13, and the old alien that comes down into a teenager's body and takes over, my dad no longer was coming around. And at that point, as you know, as a 12 and 13-year-old boy, you were trying to discover your identity. And let's step back a moment, because I'm going to have 2 stories intertwined here. I had a brother who was in prison most of his life. He was in San Quentin, Folsom. I'm from California. I remember going to visit him in prison at 8, 9 years old, and I was just small. I mean, I'm not much taller now, but I was very small. I remember going into this dark place. Remember, the seed of unforgiveness was already planted within my heart from my father. And all of a sudden I see my brother in prison, and he brings out this big old guy who's like Conan the Barbarian, and I'm seeing this ugliness in prison. And I begin to have this relationship with my brother through the bars. And then next thing I know, at 10 years old, he's out of prison for the probably 10th or 15th time, because it's habitual with many who are kept in prison. And I want you to take that and put it in your mind for a moment, because though some are in actual prison, many are sitting here today that are in prison themselves, behind the walls of unforgiveness and unresolved issue. And I'll never forget, he's out on parole. And probably at that age, he must have been in his early 20s. I don't know exactly his age. I remember at that moment, and I'll never forget the scene when my prison brother, who I should have trusted, violated me and sexually assaulted me. Some of you have had that happen to you. So now I've got my father, I've got my brother. I have no male figure in my life that could teach me what it is to see identity. See, what happens is when unforgiveness and seeds of unforgiveness begin to be planted in your heart, you begin to lose who you are. And I love what every one of you said today. Every one of you that spoke today about finding out who you are. Some people walk their whole life. Do you know that you walk by people every day that have no identity? They may show it on their face that everything's okay, but inside they're dying with anxiety, PTSD, trauma, all kinds of different things. So here's these intertwined stories, and from the age of 10 years old to 28 years old, I had no identity. Am I gay? Am I not? I didn't know what to think. But I did know that somewhere deep inside me, something had to be released if I was going to accomplish anything. So I go through high school, and I'm a vocalist. I've sang all over the world. I've been able to be on TV. I've done all kinds of great things. But you know all that was? It was a mask for the very pain that I was carrying. I could get on stage with the best of them and make you think that my life was perfect. But these intertwined stories begin to catch up. How many know there's always an end of the road? Eventually, I turned 18 years old, and I decided to go into the Navy. That was a smart move. I'm glad I served my country. But I didn't know what I was doing. I'm trying to figure out. And then I'm with my fiance at the time, and we're talking at that time, and I'm going to be stationed overseas. We had our first child. I came back out of the Navy, and we had our first child. I was 19 years old as a father, and I'm looking at this human being in my hands going, and what do you want? I had no clue, and that human being now is 31 years old. So from 18 at marriage to 28 years old, I did everything I could to create havoc within my marriage, not because I didn't love my bride, not because I thought she was horrible, no, because I didn't love me. I didn't have a clue how to be a father. I didn't have any identity. How many are walking around today? Maybe you're sitting here today and you still don't know your identity, but you're here on a divine appointment to hear this story and to understand you can leave here today different. Choice. You spoke about choice. You spoke about choice. You spoke about choice. We've all spoke about choices. But I wonder if we will choose to leave here today the same way. So this unresolved issues, and I'll never forget, my wife and I were separated. I was losing everything in my life. And I said, you know what? I might as well just go out and dive off the high dive and just go into a life of hell. Because that is the worthless piece of shit that I am. You ever felt worthless? You ever felt like no one cared? Have you ever felt like you're never going to make it back from the brink of darkness? That was me. It wasn't until I realized that there was some bigger picture in life that was going to take place. My father comes to my son's graduation. Later on, fast forward, and my son's, there. My dad comes, and All my life as a 6-year-old boy, I yearned to have my father's approval and his love. Have you ever yearned for somebody to approve you? Let me say it today. You don't need anyone's approval to be who you are when you understand who you are. Right? So he comes into our life. He leaves. He goes back. And I'll never forget, I called him up one day. He's getting older. He's about 71 years old. And I call him up. And I say, hey, Dad, how you doing? He said, I'm doing. I said, man, thank you for coming to my son's graduation. It was amazing. And all my life, I've waited. I have not forgiven him yet. I was working towards that. You know why? Because here's the thing. When someone has violated you, you are justified in a moment to feel the pain. And we hold on to it and we feel justified. Here's the problem with that. When you have unforgiveness in your heart towards someone, you have given them power over you and they're not even thinking about you. And so next thing I know, I'm holding on to this. But all of a sudden, in my own way, and for me, I have a belief that's higher than me. And I said, I've got to let this go or it's going to kill me. And so I forgave my father, but something happened as I did it. There was a step. He said, just take one more step. And I took this step of forgiveness and making sure that that issue was resolved. And all my life, I waited for him to say a few words to me. A few words. And I call him up, and I'm just talking to him. And my dad was from the old school. Anybody had an old school father? Like he tells your mother, basically, I loved you when I married you. If I ever change my mind, I'll let you know. You know, that kind of old school father, right? They don't express their emotions or tell you that they love you. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone. I said, all right, Dad, I got to go, man. Thanks for talking. We'll talk to you soon. He goes, hold on a second, son. Hold on a second. I want you to know something. Because by this time, man, I had been set free from the very things that were keeping me in prison. And I'll never forget, he says these words, I love you and I'm proud of you. In that moment, you know what happened? I became that 6-year-old little boy and my father came home. And I wrapped him into my heart and there was one issue resolved. But I had another issue. Remember the intertwining stories? A brother who sexually molested me. And we all come from stories or we've heard from stories of people who have been sexually molested or violated. I'm telling you, the pain is real and it's debilitating. But it's not the end of the story for your life. My brother in 1991 is out of prison and gets killed in a car wreck. At this point, I'm kind of working inside churches, though I was a messed up freak. I was messed up. I'm like, those people have no clue. This church is like, if you knew, be like the walls are going to fall in. I was called upon to do his funeral. Called upon. The very person who violated me called upon to do his funeral. But here's what I began to understand. The very reason he did what he did was because it was done to him and he became a sick individual. And all of a sudden, inside me, I understood something. What if me forgiving him will unleash freedom in his life? What if I take the step to ask him to forgive me at his casket? Because here's the reality. There was 300 people there who were all like, I'm like, man, nobody's going to try to break into this funeral. There's a bunch of prisoners out here. And I'm looking out and I'm like, I've got to share hope. And I look at his casket. Before I could say anything to anybody, I look at it and I put my hand on it and I say, I forgive you. And I release that right now. Now, I would love to say that right after that, man, everything was perfect. It just no, that was 1991. It wasn't until 1998 that all of a sudden, all the stuff that I've had in my life from 10 to 28 came to a head. And at that very moment, my friends, I made a choice that for the rest of my life, I'm going to spend my days pouring into the lives of others that you can live free if you choose to. You can live free. Now, there's moments where freedom is tested. Jody, you shared that. You get up you go down. You get back up, you go down. But in this freedom, it always is unlocked by one word, and I'm going to do an illustration here in just a moment, and maybe you will engage with me on this. The one word is that forgiveness. Some of you here tonight or this afternoon are holding on to unforgiveness because someone violated. And you know what? You're justified for that because you know what? It hurt and pain, and you have to walk through the process of releasing. But I'm wondering if it's just one person today, maybe you're ready to release it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just sharing my story because now for 25 years, I have walked in a freedom. Every single day, I get up with an extra bounce in my step, and I don't let anything offend me. You see, when you know how to forgive and you have a lifestyle of forgiveness, you never get offended. People can come against you. You know what really pisses them off when you're like, oh, that's funny. They're like, aren't you mad at me? No, I love you. No, you can't love me. I do. Because I want you free as well. You see, as a human, who would want some other human destroyed? Because in ourselves, we wouldn't want to be destroyed. And so I'll never forget living this way all this time. And God gave me this illustration. So I want you to take your fists and I want you to clench them, just as tight as you can clench them. I mean, think about all the stuff that's happened to you. Maybe you've already let some of this go, but you've got these clenched fists as strong as you can clench them. Inside of these clenched fists are the violations, is the unforgiveness, is the unresolved issues, all the stuff that for whatever reason you've not let go. Today is the day you have an opportunity. I'm giving you an opportunity of a lifetime today to open up these fists. Now it's not easy because again, sometimes you can't do it on your own. Sometimes you need help. You know what? We're not meant to do life alone. You've got friends in your life. You got others. But it's going to be your choice because they can't make you. You can take a horse to the water, but they have to choose to drink it. So you got to, okay, go like this now. Raise them up. Fist. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I need someone to stand here with me, if they will. Who would volunteer with me? I want to show you something about your clenched fist. Bro, would you do it? Come on. Come here. Kayla, I need you to hold this for me. Well, maybe I can do it without it. Hold on a second. I want you to clench your fist as tight as you can, okay? Come up here, right here. All right. What's your name, bro? You got some cool gauges, is that what you call them? Yep. Man, I'm dope, man. I don't know what those things are. Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm like, gauges. I remember when they first came out, I'm like, what's in your ears? That shows my age right there, right? They're clenched. Now, here's the issue with the clenched fist, right? Here's the thing, because we want a quick fix. We want a quick fix to freedom. When my brother would come out of prison, why would he go back in? Because he didn't understand freedom. He didn't understand it. Just because freedom is free doesn't mean that you're going to be free unless you choose something. And so, put it right there. So he's got a clenched fist. So I'm going to do something, and I want you to resist because that's what we do, right? So this is a violation right here. I hope I don't break your finger. Here's a violation right here. Somebody violates, and I'm trying to pry it open. I'm trying to pry this open. And next thing you know, because of a relationship maybe that I built with you and trust, and next thing you know, you've allowed this because I didn't do it, but you chose, and all of a sudden, boom. There's one, gone. Man, that person who did that to me, I've just forgiven them. Next thing, here we go. Here we go. Now this one's hard because maybe it is a family member. Let me tell you, the hardest people to love are those closest to you because they know your mess. All of a sudden, boom. One by one, he says, I forgive, I let go. I forgive, I let go. I forgive, keep your hands up, I let go. I forgive, I let go. I forgive, I let go. I forgive, I let go. Stay there. Look at his posture. You see, you can never receive anything in your life with clenched fists. We talked all day long. Put your palms open so that you can receive relaxation. Put your fist back. You ain't receiving any relaxation that way. You're tense. You're mad. You've been violated. but you're not willing to let it go. I'm deserved to hold on to this. Oh my goodness, you may be 30 years old, 40 years old, or 6 years old. You're going to get at the end of your life with clenched fists, and you're going to wish that you would have opened those palms. You see, he's let it go, and what happens is you can extend out these arms like this. And there's a surrendering that happens when you let something go. Now, there's something else that happens. I don't want you to feel weird about this, okay? If you do, just go with it, brother. Okay? You got a cool tattoo and cool gauges. He's got his arms open. You see, when you're willing to forgive and open and get rid of the unresolved issues, get everything out of your closet for freedom, next thing you know, the very person that violated you, doesn't mean you have to be exactly friends with them or buddies with them, but you're open to doing this. Thank you. Let's give him a hand. You see, because at the end of today, you're going to walk out of here with all this information, but I don't want information in my life. I want transformation. I want to wake up tomorrow morning on purpose. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, but we're guaranteed now. It was said earlier, man, you only die once. That's true, but you live every day. You die once, but you live every day. And how you live it today, right now, in this moment, it's your choice. And I'm wondering if your hands are clenched, tight. So let's do one more thing and then we're going to end. I want you to do your fist again like this. I want you to sit straight up in your chair with your eyes closed. Now, I can't make you do anything. Kale, will you come up here with me real quick, bro? I can't make you do anything. I'm going to have Kale, before I end with something here, I'm going to have Kale just do a real quick breathing exercise for me, okay, with our group as their eyes are closed. Just have them remember that center real quick.
Okay. So you all have your eyes closed and fists clenched. Slowly breathe into your stomach. Just focus on the air as it pulls into your nostrils, the temperature of it, the sound of it. Feel it filling up your lungs and using your diaphragm. Pause for a moment as you slowly exhale. Only listening to the sound of my voice. The air as it's exhaling. And count two. Just keep feeling that breath, pausing in between. That's really good, everybody. Keep it up.
Stay there for a second. Now, I want you, if you choose to, this is your choice, to begin to open up each finger as you release and let go of forgiveness for whoever it is or unresolved issue. You don't have to do it. If you walk out of here with clenched fist, that is your choice. It breaks my heart because you have an opportunity right now. Go ahead and start, if you want to, opening up those fingers until your palms are open. And maybe you can only open up a couple right now, and that's okay. Yeah. You feel it? You feel the freedom? Man. And if you can't do that yet, that's okay. But if you can, even if you can loosen them up just a little bit. Just a little bit. One step to another step. To another step. And one day I'm going to run into you on the streets of the United States or England. And I'm going to say, where are your fists? You're going to say, I don't have them anymore because I fully surrendered. Soak it in. Today's been about being free at last. Don't ever again allow unforgiveness or unresolved issues or bitterness. You see, because here's the deal. You can open your eyes now. Here's the deal. When you allow unforgiveness in your heart, it turns into bitterness. When bitterness grows, it turns into indifference. And when you get to a place of indifference, you stop caring. You don't care. I want to tell every one of you today, I don't even know all of you. I've just been emceeing today. I can say this with all sincerity. Those who would know me would tell me and tell you the truth. I love every single one of you. I love you for who you are, not what I need you to become. Be who you are. Be free at last. And leave here today with your head up, your shoulders back, and say, I'm leaving and going to the world a new person. We are so glad that you chose to come be a part of this day. And I have no doubt that as we do more of these, I will see more of your beautiful faces. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone. All you speakers, will the speakers please stand up? Let's give them a hand. Yeah. If you need some more information from them, go buy a book. Remember, 2 for $40. Good deal. You know, get some information, some free stuff. Everybody likes free stuff, right? Get that. Go see our vendors. Will you go out there and just make sure you thank the vendors for being here all day? This was a huge day. And we will see you next time around as we continue to make sure that we do what we can and what you do what you can to bring healing, help, and hope to as many people as we cross paths with. Have a great day. Bless you.